People deluded. As you know, the summer transfer window where European clubs are concerned is closed. Arsenal have splashed the cash. And yeah, it's now time to consider everything. As you know, Kai Havertz, Timber, and Declan Rice arrived at the football club. And, you know, they're all great players. And we have definitely got some good midfield options that we could potentially deploy. David Raya came in to provide competition / maybe take the place of Aaron Ramsdale. And initially, there was excitement. There's reasons to still be excited, but there was excitement. It looked like we was doing things. We was linked with Lavia, Kudus, Cancelo, Fresneda, this guy, that guy, and sparks were flying, people. You know, obviously, you would have loved to have seen Arsenal, in my opinion, and we'll cover it towards the end, bring in a right winger. I think we're a central midfielder short, potentially a striker, and another defensive option with the injury to Timber, as you lot have seen. That has firmly put a dent in our plans and put a spanner in the works, really and truly. Again, injuries are not something solely isolated to Arsenal. While we can wallow in self-pity and feel sorry for ourselves, we're going to have to get on with it. There's 38 Premier League games and however many in all competitions, in whatever competitions we're in and however we go. We've obviously seen Tierney depart the club and join fellow Champions League club Real Sociedad on loan. I am sad to see him go, especially with the injuries. I spoke on central midfielders. I do think we're going to miss Granit Xhaka. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is another thing. It's down to Arteta to find a plan. But as you know, Xhaka went to Leverkusen. Rob Holding completed a deadline day move for £4 million to Crystal Palace. Again, respectfully to Holding, the way we want to go as a football club, there's just simply not a place for you here, at least on the football field. Hey, boy Balogun signed for 40 odd million euros to Monaco. Sad to see him go, but 10 odd appearances and sold for 40 odd million quid. I can't lie, it's good business if I'm honest with you. Nuno Tavares will still be in the Premier League. He has actually signed on loan with Nottingham Forest, people. So yeah, we have got some outgoings. You know, everything weren't done, and we'll get onto that in a bit, but it's all right. You know, Matt Turner's gone, and to be fair, we brought the 3 American lads on pre-season tours, and they've all gone really. And Turner, Trusty, and obviously Mr. Balogun, who we just discovered. And there you have it there. Mr. Trusty had a great loan spell at Birmingham. We've made a quick profit after having him for a year. He has joined Sheffield United, people, and we wish everyone who's departed the club on a permanent basis or temporarily the best of luck. Lokonga sealed the deadline day move to Luton. Some of you will forget Pablo Mari joined Monza on a permanent as they confirmation in Serie A. Renison completed a move to Cardiff on loan. Young Marquinhos has headed to France to get more experience, and we're picking up loan fees. Ainsley Maitland-Niles was released, and I wish him all the best. He's joined a massive club in Lyon, another one in France. We've seen several young players depart the club on loan, people, which again picks up loan fees and things of that ilk. And we've seen, you know, obviously Ben Cottrell has also departed and gone to Slovakia. Arthur Okonkwo has joined Wrexham, and if you what Wrexham are doing, they're doing exciting things off the ground. I did think we'd be busy on deadline day, you know, and I know we were busy in terms of outgoings. You saw a flurry, you know, the admin of Arsenal.com had to work very hard to get the articles, but I did think maybe we'll bring in a winger, maybe there's a centre mid, maybe we have a deadline day defensive body to come in to allow us to cope with the Timber injury. And that, you know, I did think Edu and Arteta would be busy in their offices in that regards. But to be fair, Arteta said in his press conference he doesn't expect anybody to arrive. Whether he was telling a white lie and they were trying things in the back burners, I don't know. I do think on the face of it, we've got good depth, but I do think we're walking a tightrope. I think a couple of injuries and we're kind of back to what plagued us the last 2 years. I do believe in our defensive options, but considering Tomiyasu and Zinchenko love an injury, Timber's out and Tierney's gone, we're a bit light, people, really. You know, again, Declan Rice, unfortunately, at some point might have to deputize at centre-half, people. There is even rumours on social media that Partey has picked up a hamstring knock and could be out for 3 months. Now, social media, you know, there's little white lies. I guess we'll have to see in relation to Manchester United. Now, obviously, I do think on the whole, we've done good business. We moved early. We avoided any sagas to go with the contracts. We obviously brought in Arteta's 3 key targets. We have got some outgoing sorted as well. So I do think, a bit like last year where it started well and it was a good summer, but we might have come out empty-handed. And I honestly don't know if we're actually stronger than we were last year or if it's a sideways step. Let me know your thoughts and smash the like button. As you know, there's always a couple of players who survive, you know, the apocalypse of people or the exodus of players leaving the football club. And obviously Cedric, you know, 32 years of age now, contracted until 2024, probably struggled to move him on through all the interest. Is he the guy that's going to stay as a defensive body if push comes to shove and we'll just let him run down his contract? I'm not really privy to anything. It's looking like January is the more likely scenario for him if he is to depart, people. We are 5th we're second for net spend, which shows you that we offsetted some transfer fees and things. As you know, the Saudi Arabian market is currently still open, and that seems like that's the only avenue for Nicolas Pepe. He's training alone at London Coley, didn't secure a move to teams in Germany, France, Besiktas. He could still go Saudi. We did hear rumors that that wasn't working out. We'll have to see. Some small hope maybe he's reintegrated. In fact, there's even rumors Arsenal are considering once again tearing up his deal after after contacts with other clubs, apologies, didn't come to anything. And, I don't know where you stand at this point. Are you best off just keeping Pepe and seeing if he could be a wild card, at least off the bench? Clearly, Arteta is not convinced in him, but at least off the bench. But for who, I don't know. I do think Edu and Arteta can look back with pride. They've got new deals. They acted early. As I said, we avoided sagas in previous years. Declan Rice deal would have dragged out and all the others, and definitely where the contracts are concerned. So I'm not too sure what I quite rank the summer, if I'm honest with you, at this moment in time. Once again, we cannot forget tying down Martinelli, Saka, Saliba, and there's obviously a number of other contracts, is very important business as well. Almost as important or more important, keeping and retaining a group of players and improving them as much as it's about incomings, really. I know that's the unsexy things of football, but you get the point, essentially. And so, yeah, I mean, if we give the example of going shopping, I think we've returned from the supermarket with a lot of groceries, but there's probably a number of things that are out of stock, and we failed to bring them in, really and truly. And it kind of leaves me wondering, if I'm honest, how would you rate our window? I'm happy with the signing of Declan Rice. He's the poster boy. I've told you a lot in previous vids, just as a casual viewer of Eredivisie, Timber would be lit. Jury's still out on Havertz, but if that's what the gaffer wanted, fair enough. And I'm impressed with David Raya signing for the club. That's someone that, if Ramsdale's messing about, he can take your place. That's someone that's closer in terms of competition to Ramsdale than Matt Turner. That's someone that Arteta might say, you know what, Ramsdale, you're coming out the team, Raya's there. And as long as they're pushing to be the best players. And I think we've signed players of the right profile. Declan Rice is 24, as is Havertz. Timber's 22. They're obviously got a good foundation. It's now about taking them to the next level. David Raya is 27. He played 38 games last season for Brentford, a key player, and he obviously fits our system. He's ready to hit the ground running. Also, for a keeper at 27, you're basically a baby. So yeah, people, speaking for only myself, I think this again. I know you kind of got to approach this with caution. I don't know how to really put it into words. I'm excited about the business we've done, and I'm also somewhat underwhelmed, really, because I feel on the face of it, assuming everyone's fit, we got some fantastic options. I did feel early on into the summer, so when the three boys came in, I thought finally Arsenal have some great defensive options, which we still do. It's, last season, those of you that watch my content, my watch-alongs, my videos, all of these sort of things, you'd have heard me say, I think we need stronger defensive options, and I think we would have introduced that, and we did have that at a point. Tomiyasu, Zinchenko. I know Kirill was signed in January, but he's been here for a matter of months. So in terms of new signings, Kirill's come in. Obviously, you've got Benjamin White and Saliba. You did have Kieran Tierney, and such is life. I'm probably missing somebody else out at a push. If worse comes to worse, while you want to exclusively see Declan Rice play as a 6 or an 8 or do what needs to be done in the middle of the park, he can be utilised as a centre-back. But now as the window's gone on with the Timber injury, with our failure to bring in at least a body in terms of a loan, I know Cedric's still knocking about, and that's something that might have to be relied upon at least until we assess in January. Obviously, Kirill is a bit like Benjamin White in that, and Tomiyasu in that they can play in a couple of roles. I do think we're playing a dangerous game defensively, assuming everyone's fit. Fair enough, in Mikel Arteta's mind, you wanted Kai Havertz. As I said, I'm gassed about Rice and Timber because I was watching Timber. And, even if you weren't watching him and you were showed 5 minutes, you could see what he could bring to Arsenal. Tenacious, Dutch intelligence, multifunctional, all of that jazz. And life is cruel that in a Euros year, he's got a long-term injury and he's injured 50 minutes into his debut at home. Obviously, Declan Rice speaks for himself. He's a bad boy. He's a sick footballer. He's going to do a lot for us. That's someone that, while I never want to see Odegaard leave or become or relinquish the captaincy, captain of Arsenal one day, you could see that with Declan Rice. Havertz, I see reasons to be concerned. I don't think he's a terrible player. I do think he's scapegoated at times, but it is a bit flattering to deceive. Don't get it twisted. There's a lot of great things. He makes a lot of tactical fouls. He wins duels. He's linking up well with his teammates relatively. You can see what he's doing. But at the same time, I don't want to praise a footballer, much less a Champions League winner, a German international, someone that can play as a 10 or an 8, someone that had Mesut Ozil comparisons coming up, even though I don't buy that. I don't want to praise someone for working hard working hard, running around, and all of that sort of jazz. People, I want to be able to see what he brings. And the Fulham game was a bit underwhelming in that regards, and you did want to see a lot more in that regards from him. But if that's what Mikel Arteta does, fair enough. Arteta has shown me you're not going to get everything right, but he's made a number of difficult decisions. People didn't want Xhaka to stay when he came in. The world wanted him gone. People weren't necessarily convinced with Martin Odegaard or Ramsdale or Benjamin White. And I think they've all worked out okay. Even his faith in Eddie Nketiah relatively. So I'm prepared to cut Mikel Arteta the luxury of that. But, as I said, if you was looking at getting closer to City, you can see how Rice takes us there. You can see how Timber takes us there. I'm not quite sure at this moment in time how Havertz does, but I'm going to give the man a chance. He's probably signed a 4 or 5 year deal. I'm not going to write a man off after 3 games. But what I would say, it don't look good really, and I don't see how Havertz is signing. Obviously, Arteta knows football more than me. I trust my gaffer, and he sees things at different levels. But me as an ignorant fan that likes Arteta but doesn't follow him blindlessly, it's Arteta in and all of that. I don't see right now, beyond just being a good footballer and fitting our system, how Havertz takes us closer. So that's my thoughts on the 3 signings. Obviously, I'm happy to, I was happy with the depth, but I am a bit cautious and scared defensively now. Hope these fears are misplaced. I do think what goes under the radar as well, I have to give the team credit for having no dramas. Rice, Timber, potentially even Havertz. The contracts of Martinelli, Saka and Saliba could have very well ran into midsummer, but we got them things there done early. So I pat them on the back of the recruitment, if that's what Arteta wanted, and also retaining key players and attempting to bring in defensive options. Personally, I think we're a centre mid short. I've just touched on Havertz. Obviously, we've brought in Rice, so that's 2 central midfielders. You still have Fabio Vieira. You still got El Nene Jorginho. You still got Odegaard. Trossard can play as a 10. Maybe Odegaard can move into the 8. But I did think whether it's another 6 or, for me, potentially another 8, I think we're a midfielder short. I think, I do think the market, where you start looking at strikers, which I think striker wasn't on the list for us this year, but could be something, an organic striker. We've been linked with Osimhen, Ivan Ferguson, and Ivan Ferguson. Anyway, I forgot his first name, but Ferguson of Brighton, Ivan Toney, and Osimhen. They're all very different. Whether we sign them is a whole nother thing. You probably need 80 to 100 million to begin conversations with all of these guys. But the links, while links don't really mean much, the basis of an organic striker, an old school traditional 9 to go with Jesus and all the attacking players chipping in, it could get us, from an 80 goal team to 100. And that can turn some losses into draws, some draws into wins, ultimately closer to City, people. Because you would have seen City against Fulham today, dodgy VAR system. So we're going to have to win some games. So in Arteta's mind, and Fabio Vieira in midfield as well, in Arteta's mind, maybe it's not that deep in terms of midfield, but I think we needed one. A bit like the striker market, the winger market is a bit techie. Many people would have said, Kudus has obviously ended up at West Ham. Diaby's gone to Aston Villa. They were 2 players aggressively linked with Arsenal Football Club. Towards the end of the final weeks, better yet, towards the end of the season, we were linked with Pedro Neto and things like that. I didn't really buy them links, but you would have loved someone that long-term could compete with Saka and maybe even, take his place ultimately in terms of competition, really and truly, And I do think, had we have even got Mudryk in January, I start to believe Arteta would have played him off the right. In the last year or so, Kudus, Diaby, Rafinha, Pedro Neto. There's probably a couple of other players, For example, if we got a striker, Jesus could probably do that out wide. So I would have liked competition for Saka. I would have personally liked a striker, but I couldn't see that happening. I do think we're a bit short in midfield, and I would have loved to have seen, even in a loan capacity, moving for a defensive body. But again, if you can't find it, which again, them man work in football, they need to be able to find it, because I'm pretty sure with Timber was the first choice, but there had to have been about 10, 20 other players. A bit like how the Athletic said, we tried to bring in Conde, it did not bang for us. We went and moved for Benjamin White. We tried to bring in Raya a few years ago. It didn't bang. We brought in Ramsdale. So to me, as an ignorant fan, I'm sitting there and saying, you know what? We've done that where we're just signing bodies for no reason and stuff. What's the point adding people if they can't bring us closer to where we need to go? But I would have loved to have seen a defensive body in relation to that. So, and it does kind of follow last summer in that I think it's been a good window. One we can look back in pride. One that there's a lot of excitement, but it does kind of go down to underwhelmingness. I don't know if we've actually improved, really. And I say that because I think, Timber improves us. That gave us another layer. Declan Rice improves us. Fair enough. If I'm sure Arteta would argue Havertz improves us. But again, as an ignorant fan, 3 of the 4 signings for me, big up Raya as well, and the competition he provides to Ramsdale. I think Raya, Declan Rice, Timber, them man there bring us closer to City in line with what we want to do. Havertz is one that only time will tell. And I do wonder, have we actually improved? I believe yes, but then at the same time, it feels like a sideways step. I'd probably give our window a 6 or a 7, and I would mark it down from 10. Obviously, 3 marks off for a 7, because for me, I would have loved another central midfielder. Fair enough, it weren't a central midfielder. I thought another wide man could arrive. In that regards, you've signed new players to new deals. You got the contracts of the new player. Well, you got the contract sorted. You brought in new players early doors. We have shifted off some players. You made a decent profit for Balogun, whether you believe he should have been sold or not. Facts are, he's played 10 times for Arsenal, bulk of them in Europa League. You sold him for 40 odd million quid. Another loanee that did all right. Austin Trusty did all right. You moved on Holding. You moved on several players. And I do find, but to a degree, and people sat there and didn't necessarily rate Holding. You can't sit there and say Holding isn't good enough and this guy isn't good enough and that guy isn't good enough and then cry at the fee. But I do wonder, could you have got more for Balogun, more than 40 odd million? Fair enough, 17.5 million sell-on clause. That is amazing. But could we have got a bit more of Balogun? I believe yes, I believe no, because European clubs were never going to give Arsenal what we deem we believe on him. And obviously, he didn't really help us in that he said, I'm not going out on loan. His contract's got 2 years. We don't know if Balogun is going to score 20 odd goals again or have an underwhelming season again. So there's that. I do find myself wondering, could you have got more for Rob Holding? 4 million. It is we have doubled our initial 2 million on him. Bolton are probably due a sell-on clause in that regards as well. But considering he's played 160 odd times for Arsenal, won some cups, Premier League teams wanted him. Could we have pushed that to 10? Could we have got more for Matt Turner? Could we have got more for Balogun? Xhaka, again, I do think it is what it is. For the fee Xhaka went this time, then when he was going to walk from the club is decent. But I am wary about the voice Xhaka left. We obviously have got some more finances brought into the club through obviously getting loan fees for the Lokongas, the Tavareses, the Marquinhoses of this world, and a number of under 21s. Could we have, again, for as much as I rate Tini, does the footballing world rate Tini as much as us Arsenal fans? Because on the face of it, he should have been someone that's moved on permanently, folks. But he's gone on loan. So the loans, I think Tini will get permanent offers next year. But the Lokongas, the Tavareses, the Renaissance, these kind of guys, assuming they're at the club, we're still going to have to revisit kind of what we've attempted to do this summer, next summer, really. So that's where I kind of find myself, considering that Matt Turner was in international, being stingy, but could we have got a bit more? Obviously Pepe is still here. We don't know if he's going to move to Saudi. Cedric's managed to survive the onslaught of moving on. But again, when you bring in players that are not necessarily attractive universally to other teams and you put them on decent wages, this is the scenario you find yourselves in. Obviously, we're probably due a couple of other monies through Iwobi signed for Fulham from Everton. We're probably due a percentage of that deal. The same for Matteo Guendouzi from Marseille to Lazio. So I'd give it a 6 or a 7 out of 10. I know I said 7. I am drawing towards a bit more of a 6. I think if Havertz starts showing his quality, then I might revisit that. But I think we've done 90% of the business. I think 10% was kind of lacking, mainly in terms of incomings. But that 10% can be the difference between qualifying for the Champions League, winning the league, or finishing second, or bringing a trophy home. So I don't know. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts. The beautiful thing about football is, I'm pretty sure when I see the comments, some people are going to be negative and say it's a 3 out of 10. Some of you are going to say it's a 20 out of 10. I welcome all thoughts. So please, please, please comment your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe, smash the like button. These things help all the algorithms. Check out my other YouTube content. Appreciate you lot as well for your positive feedback on me trying to get a bit better with this editing thing. First things first, people. I hope you lot are well and safe. I know it's the 2nd of September on the time of making this video, but I hope this month gives you and your loved ones great health and anything you want in your personal and private lives. Thank you for always rocking with the guy. It's an Arsenal thing till I die, and all of that. One love.
Because you always use that active when defending. I think it's like